All right, hello and welcome back to the Law Entrance YouTube channel. So, students, as promised to you, I am here with a brand new video on the Indus Water Treaty with reference to the Pahalgam incident in a detailed explanation video. So, आज की वीडियो में हम काफी सारी चीजें डिस्कस करने वाले हैं. Let's look at the agenda of the day. First of all, we'll understand the context of the Pahalgam incident. We'll look at the geography of the region where the attack happened. We'll look at the Indus Water River system and its tributaries, the five rivers which flow through Punjab into Pakistan. We'll talk a little bit about the Indus Water Treaty. We'll look at the major dams and projects which can be crucial in this particular issue. And lastly, we'll look at what is India's edge, what is India's strategic leverage, what is something which can be advantageous to India with reference to this complete issue, right? So let's start without any further delay, without wasting any time and explore the topic in detail. So, when we talk about the Pahalgam incident, we all are aware that this happened a day ago in the Kashmir Valley, and the place where it happened was called Baisaran, which is a meadow area which is not accessible by road. So, you have to trek for an hour from a place called Pahalgam, which is a famous tourist spot in Kashmir. If you talk about the district is called Anantnag, and this name is important because this is a place from where the Amarnath tourist yatra, the sacred pilgrimage to the Amarnath temple, also goes, which is going to start in a few days. And that is why this region is very important from a tourist perspective, from a religious perspective, and from a diplomatic perspective as well. And this incident is, we could say, a planned incident which is an attempt to destabilize this particular region, tourism in this region, peace and stability in this region. Now, as the backdrop of this region and the retaliatory action or the response from the Indian government has been observed, we know that we have five different things which we have done in the recent times in order to, you would say, response to the as a response to this particular incident. And the primary one of them is the suspension of the Indus Water Treaty, or to put it more specifically, abeyance to the treaty is the word being used. If you look at the geography of the region where the attack happened, you can see this is a place called Baisaran Valley. And this was not accessible by road. So you had to trek for a hour and so from a place called Pahalgam, which is somewhere here. And this is the district, Anantnag, and the union territory is Jammu and Kashmir. You can see Srinagar, Baramulla, nearby areas, right? And tourists opened fire on the terrorists opened fire on the tourists in the Baisaran Valley. So now, as we have proactively taken a step and gone into abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty, it's important to understand first what is the geographical impact of the Indus River, what is the location of the Indus River, and the associated other five rivers which flow from India to Punjab. Now, let's talk about each of these rivers in a little more detail. Before we dive into each of these rivers, first thing which we need to understand is there are two sets of rivers. One is controlled by India to a greater extent, and one set of rivers which is controlled by Pakistan to a greater extent. So the western rivers, which is the river Chenab, Jhelum, and Indus, these are the rivers where you would say Pakistan has more rights and India has limited rights. The limited rights are related to hydroelectric power, domestic usage, but non-consumptive usage. That means we cannot consume a lot of water from these particular rivers. These are some restrictions as per the Indus Water Treaty, about which we'll talk about very soon. Now, on the eastern end, we have eastern rivers called Satluj, Beas, and Ravi. And India has exclusive rights over these rivers. We can do anything which we want to. And these are the two sets of rivers, right? Six rivers: Chenab, Jhelum, Indus, Satluj, Beas, Ravi. And here you can see the Brahmaputra River. Now, obviously, India and Pakistan don't overlap over the Brahmaputra River, but this Brahmaputra flows from China into India. And this is an important perspective to look at because China would want to, might want to ally with Pakistan, or Pakistan might go to China for claiming support, and China might do some activities around the Brahmaputra River. So that also becomes significant in this issue. Now, if we talk about all of these rivers in a little more detail, I want to give you some more context. When you talk about the Indus River, that originates in Lake Mansarovar, which is in Tibet, which, as we all know, is controlled by China. Now, this becomes important because, again, China can control the flow of the Indus River to a certain extent. When you look at the pathway of the Indus River in this particular map, you can see it enters India through the Ladakh region here at this particular point, and then it flows northwestwards through the region called Gilgit-Baltistan. This is that region, which is also called as POK or Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. And then it enters the Punjab region, the Pakistani Punjab region, and then continues to flow through Pakistan and then finally merges with the Arabian Sea near Karachi, somewhere here, right? So, this is the flow of the Indus River. Let's look at the other rivers as well. When you talk about the Jhelum River, where you can see this river here, this is the flow of the Jhelum River, right? Here it divides into two parts, and here you can see the Kishan Ganga Dam project, which we'll talk about. So, when you talk about the Jhelum River, this Jhelum River originates through a Verinag spring. Verinag, Verinag spring. This spring is in Anantnag district, the district where Baisaran Valley is also situated. And if you look at the path of this river, this flows through the Vular Lake, which is in Srinagar, one of the largest freshwater lakes, and then crosses into POK and then merges with the Chenab River, as you can see, at a place called Jhang, 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 which is in Pakistan. Now, when you look at the Chenab River originates from the confluence of two rivers in India, which are in Himachal Pradesh, the Chandra River and the Bhaga River. So, Chandra and Bhaga River together confluence at a place, and they originate the Chenab River, which again flows through the Jammu region and through J&K, goes into Pakistan through the Akhnur sector, and then eventually merges with the Jhelum River and then eventually in the Indus River in Pakistan. When you look at the Ravi River in the map, that originates again in Himachal Pradesh from the hills of Kullu. So you must have heard Kullu Manali, a popular tourist spot, right? So that is where the Ravi River comes from and then flows through the Indian side of Punjab, then enters through Lahore and then joins Chenab in Pakistan again. Now, when you look at the map and you locate the Beas River originates from the Beas Kund, which is essentially a lake near Rohtang Pass in Manali, again in Himachal Pradesh, and this flows entirely in India. Does not really go a lot into Pakistan. Merges with Satluj in Punjab, and then Satluj goes into Pakistan. But when we talk about the Satluj River in isolation, that again originates from Tibet, which is again close to Mansarovar, from a place called Rakshastal, which is located to the Mansarovar, Kailash Mansarovar region. And this also enters India through Himachal Pradesh, flows through Punjab, and then joins Pakistan through Chenab. So here you could track the flow of all of these rivers, and I told you about the origin, about the origin of all of these rivers. Now, another important thing to look at after we understand the track and course of these rivers is how the Indus Water Treaty operates. Now, we all know that Indus Water Treaty was an agreement which was signed in the year 1960 between India and Pakistan. And this treaty was brokered by the World Bank. That means World Bank acted as a mediator, as a third party. And this was signed specifically on September 19th, 1960 between our then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and Pakistan's President Ayub Khan, as you can see, brokered by the World Bank. Now, as per this treaty, there were certain regulations and limitations which were set for both the countries on how the water of the Indus River and its tributaries would be used. And through this map, we understood the western rivers and the eastern rivers. This came into being, this concept of western rivers and eastern rivers, based on the Indus Water Treaty, because India has limited right on these western rivers, Chenab, Jhelum, and Indus, Chenab, Jhelum, and Indus, but India has exclusive rights over Ravi, Beas, and Satluj. So that is essentially what the Indus Water Treaty did, and it said that the governance of these set of rivers would be by two individual countries, and India is just allowed to use 20% of the water from Indus River for irrigation purposes, for power generation, for transport purposes. And to resolve all of these disputes which might arise through the Indus Water Treaty, there was a commission formed which was called the Indus Water Commission, which was supposed to meet every 5 years to discuss the progress in this particular treaty. Now, it's been a very long time since this commission has met because of tensions between the two countries and deadlock between the two countries. But more or less, this treaty has survived the test of time. So, as we all know, this started in 1960, but we have seen multiple clashes with Pakistan, be it the 1971 Indo-Pak War, be it the 1999 Kargil War, be it multiple terror attacks like the 26/11, like the 2001 attack on the Indian Parliament, and be it other skirmishes along the line of control which keep on happening. This treaty has stood the test of time, and usually we have been compliant to this treaty. But now, after the recent Pahalgam incident, we have taken a stronger measure where we have declared abeyance to this treaty. That means we are not going to follow this treaty for the time being. It has been suspended. We have not terminated it. We have not backed out from it. We have just suspended it for the time being. Now, it's important to look at the reason why are we putting it in abeyance and what can we possibly do based on the water which flows from the Indus River and the tributaries of the Indus River into Pakistan. For that, you need to look at the major dams which are on the western rivers, which primarily flow into Pakistan. Remember Chenab, Jhelum, and Indus. Case in point. Now, the first and primary dam is the Baglihar Dam, which is on the Chenab River situated in JNK. Another, we have Salar Dam, again on Chenab River. We have a dam called Kishan Ganga project on Jhelum's tributary, the Neelam River. Here, I'll show you in the map. Wait a second. Here, you can see the Neelam River. This is the Neelam River, and this is the Kishan Ganga project, and this is the other part of Jhelum, right? So these are three important projects. Apart from that, there is an under construction project on Chenab River, which is called the Ratle Hydroelectric Project. Apart from that, there are multiple projects on tributaries as well, which is Pakaldul Dam, which is Kiru Dam, which is Kwar Dam. These are all hydropower projects as well. Now, the highlight of these projects is that these are run of the river projects. What do we mean by run of the river projects? These projects do not divert water in a certain direction. They let the flow of water in the same direction, but just use a hydropower project to make electricity out of it and then return the water into the river. So we don't stop the water, we don't redirect the water, and we don't use the water. The water keeps on flowing, but we just generate electricity out of it because of the limits of the Indus Water Treaty. But now that we have put the treaty into abeyance, we have suspended the treaty, we have paused the treaty, you guys know what is the potential here. We can go beyond our limited rights and exercise more control over these rivers if need is there, and then we can put pressure on Pakistan in order to take necessary steps. Now, another thing which I wanted to discuss here is what are India's other options which we can explore before we end the session. So this is obviously one of it, that we can control the water through the dams. Another thing which we can do is maximize our control of the eastern rivers, which is Ravi, Beas, and Satluj, and that would ensure that very less water flows into the regions of Punjab and Sindh in Pakistan. And because their agriculture is very much dependent on all of these 5, 6 rivers, that would be a major setback for them if we divert, let's say, unutilized water from Ravi River and Beas River into Jammu and Punjab, which is on the Indian side, and prevent their flow into Pakistan, which currently happens through a place called Shahpur Kandi, where there are multiple irrigation canals. Apart from this, we can build and escalate more dam projects on the western rivers, which primarily are controlled by Pakistan, where we have limited usage, and we can accelerate the pace of these hydroelectric projects, hydropower projects, and that can again put pressure. Apart from that, we can pause the sharing of information, water related information, to Pakistan, which would again slow them down. And this would ensure that without complete withdrawal, without getting any backlash from international organizations or the UN, we can still put in diplomatic pressure on Pakistan and get our terms resolved. Now, it might be possible that they might claim that this is in violation of the Vienna Convention. But again, we can take an exception and say that they violated the Vienna Convention first because we had a threat of attack because of activities which allegedly, we don't know it for sure, we don't have evidence for sure, but we can say that there's a perceived risk, and that is why we can violate the Vienna Convention. So that is what the whole thing is about. Abhi, let's see how the government takes the next steps, and then we'll probably discuss it in even more detail. But for now, you need to know all about these Indus Water Treaty related conditions, all about these rivers, all about their geography, and be up to date with the facts. If there's any new development in this regard, I'll definitely keep you guys informed. And if this video was helpful, do drop a like on this, do drop a comment on this, and comment में मुझे ये भी बताओ अगर आपको किसी और topic पे video चाहिए तो I'll be more than happy to make it. Make sure you share this with all of your aspirant friends, and let's meet in another video. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Signing off.